Look, I like Kevin Feige. I like what he's done with the MCU, and I respect what he's done for the film industry and for comic books in general and the comic book genre. But I gotta call a spade here. This guy's full of shit. So this article here that came out from Entertainment Weekly, discussing this whole Spider-Man story that we've been talking about all week here. Tom Holland's in it, so is Kevin Feige. Now, Tom Holland, the guy who plays Peter Parker in the MCU Spider-Man movies, comes off very open and honest in this interview and talks about how, I want to keep playing Spider-Man. I had a good time, this and that, which I'm sure he did. Very young guy. These movies kind of made his career. Let's be real about it. And I have a lot of respect for him because he was doing like visiting children's hospitals and things like that. Like, I'm always gonna have love for Tom Holland, for doing those things and using and basically being Spider-Man. With great power comes great responsibility. And if you're Spider-Man, going to children's hospitals and doing things like that, charity stuff, is great responsibility. But Kevin Feige in this thing, I'm going to go ahead and read you the quote here that he said, because I'm not going to play the video. He writes, and this is where it's such bullshit. Okay, he writes, I'm feeling about Spider-Man gratitude and joy, Feige told EW. We got to make 5 films within the MCU with Spider-Man, 2 standalone films, and 3 with the Avengers. Yes, it was a dream that I never thought would happen. I was never meant to last forever. We knew there was a finite amount of time that we'd be able to do this, and we told the story we wanted to tell, and I'll always be thankful for that. Bullshit. If they told the story they wanted to tell with Spider-Man, and they didn't have plans for Spider-Man going forward, why did they have a mid-credit scene that was an obvious cliffhanger to a storyline in the MCU involving J. Jonah Jameson, the deceased Mysterio, and Peter Parker being vilified by the public? Why would you include that in your movie and then sit there and say, well, we did everything we wanted to do? Obviously not. Because the main problem that I have with this whole Sony, Disney, jack-off hour is that they have an unresolved plot thread. See, if Spider-Man Far From Home ended with a clear ending and a farewell for the character and he went back to Sony, that's fine. I wouldn't even be this upset. We got him for 5 movies. The story arc is over. Stark is dead. He can move on and do his own adventures or different reboot Spider-Man again, whatever Sony wanted to do. Obviously, I would prefer him to be in the MCU for more movies, but that's fine. Contracts, I would have accepted it. But we have an unresolved plot thread that goes right into Phase 4. We have what could and probably was going to be a major story arc going forward. Spider-Man being hunted, possibly. And not just that, there were so many stories and articles that were coming out before Far From Home about how we've got plans for Spider-Man 3 in the MCU. We're going to do this, and this. And now Kevin Feige wants to retcon that. Screw you, Kevin Feige, for this, even though I like Kevin Feige, and say, oh, well, we told the story we wanted to tell. I don't think so. So what's going to happen now is Spider-Man going to go to the Sony verse and Tom Holland? Like, are they going to pick up? See, this is a complete mess. Are they going to pick up this cliffhanger from Far From Home in the Sony Spider-Man verse and bring in Venom to try to kill Spider-Man or something like that? Are they going to do it to where Tom Holland will come back and all those actors, Zendaya, and they're all going to come back, but not like Jon Favreau and not like, Marissa Tomei? Like, are they going to, somehow skirt around that issue? Or are they just not going to mention Mr. Stark, who had a big influence on Peter? Like, are they going to do that? Or are they just going to reboot the whole thing and just have Tom Holland be Spider-Man and ignore the MCU storylines? Or have a different actor play Spider-Man? Like, this whole thing is so freaking stupid. It's so dumb. And I'm going to tell y'all this right now. I see people taking sides on this. People saying fuck Sony, fuck Disney. Fuck both of them. I've been saying that from the beginning. Like, I was pissed off at Sony, then I was pissed off at Disney. The reality is, it's both of them. Because the reality is, and I've said this before, these movies make a lot of money. A lot of money. Billions. And I don't care if it's 70-30, 50-50, 65-35, whatever. Whatever. Like, you're going to make a profit from these films. And you could sit there and make an argument and say, well, Sony needs Disney because Spider-Man was, ruined by Amazing Spider-Man and Civil War saved it. And then you could make the other counter argument and say, well, Sony owns Spider-Man fair and square. They bought it in the 90s. It's their property. I've seen both arguments, and both arguments are very valid. But the reality is the people being screwed here are the fans, point blank. And now Kevin Feige saying we did everything we wanted to do. No, you didn't. You don't end that cliffhanger that everybody was talking about. Dude, people were calling that the greatest mid-credit scene in MCU history. I don't agree. I disagree with that. I don't think it's the best one. But it's certainly one of the best ones, right? It's certainly one of the ones that got everybody hyped. Because we're going to go into phase 4 with a major problem now with Spider-Man being hunted. And now it's not going to happen. Not to mention there's been rumors about Norman Osborn being involved and Oscorp. There was supposedly a scene that was meant to be in the movie where Oscorp took over Stark Tower. You're telling me that you had all this stuff planned and mapped out for the future. You were intending on bringing back... He's basically saying that we were never intending on bringing back Spider-Man. BS. Yes, you were. Yes, you were. You can't tell me otherwise. You had plans and they were ruined because your bosses, Kevin Feige's bosses, couldn't come to a deal, point blank. He's trying to be very PC. This is what this is, folks. He's trying to be PC and not stir the pot and say, well, we're happy with what we did, etc. No, you're not. No, you are not. There are more stories to tell. In fact, I remember an interview with Feige and Amy Pascal where he straight up was like, oh, we're so excited to tell all these stories. Come on, dude. 2 Spider-Man movies, 1 Captain America, and 2 Avengers. You've only scraped the surface of what you can do with this character. And now you want to come back and say, well, I'm thankful for it, which I do believe he's thankful for it. I do believe that part. But, we did everything we wanted to do with the character. No, you didn't tell the story you wanted to tell because there's more story. You wouldn't have done that cliffhanger. So if this deal never gets resolved and Spider-Man never comes back, we're going to have a plot thread that never gets resolved with the MCU. And that's bullshit. And it wouldn't be the first one either, because the Incredible Hulk movie that came out with Edward Norton, there's a couple of weird things in that movie that never got brought up ever again. It's like they want to erase that movie from continuity even though they can't. You know what I'm saying? But they've tried to kind of sweep it under the rug a little bit. Why are you now saying, come on. And it's just a mess because now, because of this, Marvel might hesitate to work with Sony again, or they might have bad blood. I mean, who knows? Who knows where this is going? I just hope it gets resolved. And when it does, we'll all be happy. Because these are billion-dollar companies that are going to make money regardless. Why don't you use Spider-Man in both the Sonyverse and the Marvelverse? Make a new contract. It's just dumb to me. And it's just BS. And I don't appreciate Kevin Feige BSing himself around this, trying to play the political game, because it's just very inauthentic. And I think the guy's been very authentic in most of his interviews. I just think that in this one, he's trying to toe that company line, and I'm not buying it.